Good Friday evening to you guys. Welcome to Beer 30 Sanity session Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Actually, it's about 4:45 Central Sun Daylight Savings Time or whatever they call it. Anyway, having said that, I hope you're having a good day, a good afternoon, but now I have to refresh myself. Here's to you, here's to me. Should we ever disagree? Here's to me. Skol, brothers. Cheers, Prost, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, we still haven't heard from Dirk Tricks, have we? He hadn't posted a comment in a while. I hope I didn't do something stupid and make him mad. But anyway, having said that, this is a Beer 30 Sanity session, so get your favorite toddy or blunt or whatever you're into, and let's do this thing. And I'll put on my Beer 30 glasses so I can see y'all. Oh, there you are, right there. Ah. So anyway, yeah, been a fun day. Didn't do much. I got a refund from the car dealership. Apparently I overpaid. I got a refund of $12.96. Yo, that's a big old biggie. But anyway, what can I tell you for Beer 30 today? Before a weekend to help you maintain your sanity. Well, I thought of a few things, and we'll start off with, I guess, the highlight of it, and then we'll work down. But I was walking just before I started this video, and I remembered on a class trip when we were like juniors in high school, we went on a class trip to San Antonio, Texas, which was 60 miles away from Kennedy, Texas. And we went to, I don't know the name of the place, it was a botanical gardens thing, but they had a fish pond, a big fish pond stuff. And it was supposed to be educational, but we were just playing grab ass the whole time, you know what I mean? And because we were at that age, what is a junior, 16, 17 years old, in that range? Oh God, what a disaster. But anyway, so we get there, been there for a while, looking at the quote fish and stuff, and we were separated. We just wandered around. I mean, it wasn't like the teacher led a group or anything like that. We were just turned loose in the place until time to go, and then they would round us up somehow. But here's to you, here's to me. But anyway, there was this one big kid in our class. He was a giant for that age group, and his name was Hoppy. I hope he's still doing all right. But anyway, he had more broken bones and stuff than any guy ever knew. But enough said. We're looking, they had this overlooking the fish in the pond at one point, and they had this rail around so you couldn't fall in. You could look at the fish down below about 20 feet, and so we were there looking at the fish, and this giant had this plan or this vision or whatever you want to call it. He decided that he was going to throw this rock that he had found about the size of a football or a little smaller into the fish pond, and then we were all going to take off running. What he didn't realize is that we were going to take off running before he threw the damn rock in him and leave him hanging, you know what I mean? So anyway, so he walks up to the edge there, throws the rock, we take off, and we run about, I don't know, probably 50 yards or so, and we're looking around, looking for old Hoppy, and hell, he wasn't there. I thought, well, I wonder what happened. I hope he didn't fall in. Maybe he threw himself in, you know what I mean? And so we go back, and there's old Hoppy laying on the ground. I thought, what the hell happened to him? What it was about 15 feet from that rail overlooking the fish pond was an iron post about this big around and about 10 feet tall that had a sign on it, "Don't throw rocks in the fish pond." Boy, this is justice personified, guys. Anyway, when he threw the rock, he turned around, took off running, and ran right into the post, full speed. Okay? I mean, he hit it center, man, right here, down for the count. But he wasn't out long, and he really wasn't knocked out. He was just kind of goofy for a while. I mean, he probably had a brain concussion, but nobody said anything. But yeah, that was too cool, though, man. Bonk. Anyway, that's the, yeah. but the kids do the dumbest stuff. But there's more, there's more, there's more. But to turn us loose in a area like that at that age, I don't know, man. Unsupervised, basically. And actually, if it hadn't been for that one thing, we were all doing very well, But this guy had a brainstorm. I think he was in more car accidents than anybody I ever knew in my life, but he survived. And he didn't have a car. He'd be in somebody else's car and they'd have an accident. He just happened to be there. But I bet he was in half a dozen in high school. In fact, it didn't occur to me at the time, but I thought about the fact that, if I'd have had a car, I wouldn't have wanted him in the car with me because he was too damn accident prone. Anyway, enough said. Yeah, he got his justice. But anyway, what else can I tell you? Oh, the same guy got a job at the ice plant, and it was actually a little. It turned into a little like a quick stop in Kennedy called B&B, and they sold ice. The big chunks of ice for people that still had ice boxes, and they also sold bags of ice, big bags of ice. But the bag was paper. It was actually paper, and it may have been lined with something, but it was paper. And so what we would do is on like Friday or Saturday, whenever Hoppy was working there, we'd go in and order like 2 bags of ice, and the ice came out on a conveyor belt, just like the big blocks of ice. You paid for the ice, and then you went outside, and this conveyor belt brought out either the big chunk or the bags of ice, because the bags of ice were about, I don't know, 30 or 40 pounds. They were huge, but they were cheap. 25 cents, I believe, for a bag of ice. But what old Hoppy would do is, they sold beer. So what he would do is he'd put 2 or 3 quarts of beer in the bottom and cover it up with ice, and then tie the bag up and send it out, and then he'd do the same thing with another one. So he'd send out about 6 quarts of beer for us to enjoy for the weekend. I don't know if he ever got caught or not. Probably did, but anyway, so that was another thing that kids do that's really not all that sharp. But we did it. We did other things too. In fact, we surveilled an ice cream truck one time in front of the grocery store, and what we found out was that the guy that was unloading the ice cream did not lock the door. When he went in to deliver, like a load of ice cream to put on the shelves or wherever he put it in the coolers and stuff, the door wasn't locked. No kidding. And this wasn't my idea. I mean, I was part of the group, but I think there was two of us, actually, just me and a friend of mine. He's the one that came up with the idea, obviously. And anyway, so the guy gets us, he gets some and he goes inside, and just as he leaves and gets inside the door, we open it, go inside. I don't know what we got, a few containers of ice cream, and then we hauled it to the railroad tracks and got under a railroad bridge, a little trestle thing, and sat there and made ourselves sick. But those are just dumb things that you do. And what else did I do? I'll see if I can think for something. But talking about ice boxes, we did actually have one out in the country, but we had gotten an electric refrigerator. My grandmother in town still had an old ice box. So, it wasn't too long later she got her a refrigerator. And as far as I remember, you at the top of the ice box there was a wooden box, had a handle on it. You unlatched it, put in a big chunk of ice, closed it, and latched it again. And somehow that cool air sinks and hot air rises. Somehow that kept things refrigerated enough to to keep milk and a few other items fresh for a few days, maybe. And then what else? I know I've told you this story before. Let me see what I got. I got another one on my list. Oh, I'll tell you a quickie. My grandmother used to make sugar cookies. Okay, they're like this big around, about like that. They're kind of big, and they're real thin, but they were called sugar cookies. And she had a cookie jar, about this big around. It had a lid on it. It's about this high, and she put a whole bunch of those sugar cookies in there, and she had it on the counter, but she pushed it back so that if I wanted a cookie, I had to ask for it, because she didn't want me eating too damn many of them. Well, what I found out was, and I wasn't even, I was probably, I'm gonna guess 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't in school yet. And, but what I figured out was there was a dining room table, not too far from that cookie jar. And ding, I just pulled a chair out, pushed it up there, climbed up on the chair, reached over there and grabbed the cookie jar and got me a handful of sugar cookies. And that's the sugar cookie story. Ta-da! Anyway, gotta have a swallow. It's Friday night, guys. This is a sanity session. I'm trying to bring you back to earth. Here's to you, here's to me. I'm sure some of you right now are thinking about things you did as a kid. I don't know how long this is gone. Anyway, we'll go, I'll do a couple more. Anyway, there's another one, but this time, and I was about the same age. I'm going to say, I must have been 4 years old. But my mother had to go into town, go to a PTA meeting, and she didn't want to leave me at home, so I go into town with her. We had an old 1949 Ford Coupe, and anyway, but she was like president of the PTA or something. She was really active in a lot of things, and so was my dad. So anyway, she pulls up in front of the school and she said, well, I'm gonna be in there about 30 minutes or whatever. She said, if you need to go to the restroom or something, you can go up to Grandma's house. And Grandma's house was only like from the school, the downtown school, the old elementary was probably, at most 3 blocks. It wasn't very far. And I knew where it was. I could find my way around, even though I was just 4 years old. And I was wearing some blue jeans and a pair of boots. Boots, you hear me? Can you believe it? I don't know where I got boots, but I had boots. And so, anyway, I'm sitting there for a while, and then I realized I had to poo-poo bad. I mean, it hit me. When you're a kid, it's kind of like being old. It just happens, So anyway, I thought, hell, I'll haul it up to Grandma's house and use the restroom there. So I go all the way to Grandma's house, knock on the door, nothing. Knock on the door, nothing. Well, Grandma wore a hearing aid. And sometimes she didn't have it in or on or whatever, because that was back in the late 40s. I was 4 years old. Not much technology then. So I'm surprised she didn't have an ear horn. You know what I mean? But anyway, so she didn't hear me, and I thought, well, I guess I'll walk back to the school and maybe use the restroom at the school. So I started walking back. Couldn't hold it, man. I just let it go, and it ended up in my boots. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's kind of a gross story, but it's a fact. I remember it because it was so traumatic. Mother gets out of the PTA meeting, comes and sits in the car, and you know what the car smelled like, don't you? Doo-doo. Anyway, so we go out to my aunt's, and I remember them cleaning me up and all that stuff. But God, it was gross, man. I thought, jeez, and Grandma never even knew I was there. And then last but not least, this is something I've told you before, but I can't help but tell it again because it's just something that just brings out things that happen as you grow up. As I mentioned, in Kennedy, Texas, if you wanted to play football as a freshman in high school, you had to weigh at least 100 pounds. I've gone over this before. I weighed 98. Anyway, they told me to drink plenty of water before I weighed. I did. I weighed 101 or 2, whatever. And I got through that. Anyway, I got on. Anyway, so I got to try out for football. I mean, you didn't really try out because we didn't have enough guys anyway. It was small town, single A school, or not even that probably. And so if you tried out, you'd at least warm the bench, okay? And that's where I was headed. I knew that, or felt like it. So anyway, but then they issue the equipment. Well, the equipment, nothing fit. I mean, I was just a little bitty guy. This stuff is designed for big kids. You know what I mean? You got shoulder pads. I had shoulder pads that stuck out like this. You know what I mean? And up here like this, and then you got what else did we have? We had thigh pads and knee pads and hip pads and all kind of crap. Nothing fit me. I had everything cinched up to the max, and it was just flop. And I put on my jersey and my pants and stuff, and if I took off running, everything's just flopping. You know what I mean? And my helmet wasn't any better. They issued you a helmet. They said, "Here, Rusty, here's your helmet." So anyway, but mine had a face mask on it, and that was brand new at that time. There were no regulations about grabbing the face mask back then because it was just one little bar about as big as your finger like this. It's just one little bar right around in front of your face. and it was a perfect little handle, you know what I mean? And so, anyway, so, but the helmet didn't fit good anyway. I mean, it just jumped up and down on my head. I'd tighten the chin strap, you know, and it was still baggy because it just went straight across, you know what I mean? It was a disaster, okay? But I was determined. I was determined. So anyway, I did okay. I mean, I couldn't see. They made me an end, you know, like, you know, the catch passes and stuff. And, you know, I could do it, but I couldn't see the ball coming over my shoulder because the damn helmet, when I turned my head, it would just sit somewhere and I'd be looking out the ear hole or whatever. And so that was crap. And, but anyway, I can remember, you know, we had a quarterback who was my cousin. And, anyway, we were scrimmaging somewhere, or we might have been in a game. I don't know. If we were ahead 100-0, they would send me in, or me and two or three other guys. But anyway, so anyway, I was in a game. I don't know if it was a scrimmage or a real game, whatever. It's a long time ago. But and I was in. Anyway, they called. And my cousin called my number, which was, you know, this little suicide thing. I mean, I thought, because you run out about 5 or 6 steps and then turn dead left, you know, right down the line of scrimmage. You know, it was for like a short gain pass, or if you got lucky, you might make some more. And anyway, well, the good thing about it, though, that short gain pass is when I ran that, you know, that route, you know, out and dead left. I mean, I'm looking at my cousin. I mean, I could see the ball coming. You know, it was easy catch, but it was a suicide play, man. Because you're right there. You're right in the thick of the guys. You know, I mean, the enemy is all around you right there, you know. But anyway, he throws the pass, I catch it, and next thing you know, everything's dark. You know what I mean? You know, I'm on the ground covered by 2 football teams, seemed like, and I couldn't see. I said, well, shit, I'm blind. It's over. I'm blind. You know, I'm dead. You know, what it was is some guy had grabbed my face mask, turned the helmet, and, you know, I could see a little light out the ear hole, you know, but, you know, I didn't know that, you know, and anyway, long story short, I was not the hero for the cheerleaders, okay? Anyway, here's to me, here's to you. Yeah, but that was hell, man. And, yeah, when I would run laps, you know, we had to run laps and stuff. Everything just flopped, flop, 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 flop. And, you know, I didn't mention it to the coach because he was just, anyway, you couldn't complain. You know, it was almost like being in the military. You just took what they handed you and you made the best of it. And I tried and tried, you know, and, yeah, but it was kind of a badge of honor to play football, you know. It was, even though I did letter. I mean, I did get a jacket 2 years. And, yeah, that was something. But anyway, having said that, guys, reminiscing here, I'm hoping you're probably thinking back to your youth when you had some crazy times, or hopefully good times. And, yeah, that gets you out of that netherland that we live in today, that high-tech world that's going on all around us, back to the times when there was no tech, as in none. You know, TVs were just getting started. Very few people had them or watched them if they did, because there was no programming. You know, the news wasn't on 24 hours a day. You might have got the news once a week for 15 minutes. And, yeah, telephones, some people had them, some people didn't. Some people were on party lines. You know, it was like, you know, the Stone Age, you know, compared to what it is today. But anyway, I will say this. If any of you ever take up the sport of football, be damn sure your equipment fits. And oh, here's something else. Back then, the cleats on the shoes were screwed on. Yeah, they were plastic cleats about this long, and they screwed on to the shoes. No shit. So if you broke one off, you just had a bare metal screw sticking out. You know what I mean? And some guys did. You know, and you know, they'd step on the opponent's hands and step on their leg and shit. I mean, no kidding, man. It was rough, man. I mean, you know, and in fact, before I played in the early '50s, they were wearing leather helmets. You know what I mean? You know, that probably would have been better for me. But anyway, having said that, thumbs up, guys. Enjoy your weekend coming up. Carpe diem, adios, bye bye. Maintain your sanity and think positive. Okay. Drink plenty of water. Whatever. This is 96% water right here. Anyway, yeah, look forward to the weekend. Think positive. Keep your health the best you can. And if you ever play football and there's no rules against grabbing the face mask, don't have one. Don't do it. Anyway, guys, yeah, crazy world we live in, guys. I'm thinking about all that crap now. Anyway, adios. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye. Stay sane if you can.